He's here, and we're live.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to Friday Night Flock Talk. I'm Robin Sullivan of the Leather Elves. So it's our Valentine's Day edition, I guess. I wasn't hungry before, but thanks, Nick. Now I felt like I was at some little Italian bistro and with the music. So thank you very much. And Janice Lang appreciated the music. So thanks, Janice. I want to say hi to everybody. It's been a while. We went straight from Christmas to Valentine's Day. It's been busy, it's been cold, and a lot's been going on. So, without further ado, I would like to welcome back to the Flock Talk screen your friend and mine, Jack Pine. Hello.
Hi,
How are you?
I am tired, very
Ah,
tired. As you, it's we just had Parrot Festival and things have been super busy. I am actually double booked because I had offered to volunteer for middle school's speech tournament. So I am judging with the incredible superhero background of me.
nice.
But I am here.
All right, and that's where we need you, at least for an hour. So, Jack, you know, when you and I talked at Parrot Festival, which we will talk more about Parrot Festival, one of the things we talked about was outreach and how important outreach is. And so I've been thinking about it. Um, and for me, it's like concentrated networking. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think out be different things to different people, depending on what your audience is. Obviously, outreach for kids is going to look a little bit different than outreach for adults.
Mhm.
Connections that you make, though, are ultimately that underlying fact. So you're talking about outreach for a group of kids. That kid that remembers, oh, hey, you're the person out. Talk to us about birds. And
Mhm.
I'm learning about a bird, and I'm excited about this bird. It's effective outreach. So that has to be that prime focus of outreach.
Mhm. And, I
Just a
think
second, Jack. Um, are you connected to your Wi-Fi? I know we didn't get to do a pre-check, but you're kind of cutting out a little bit there. So if there's anything you can do on your end, that would be great. If not, it'll get better and better as we go through it.
I can check and see.
Just talk slowly. You'll be fine. Thanks.
Okay.
um, so ver- outreach for me takes a variety of forms. And people, get hung up, oh, I don't want to do outreach. I'm not comfortable doing outreach. And I feel like outreach is just simply sharing our passion, and kind of, we are super excited about what we do, right? But we need to convey that to people, whether it's through fairs or educational, seminars, or, I wrote myself a note and it says on the street. So I don't want anybody going out on the street and hawking parrots or anything like that. That's not where we're going with this. We're going with, if you meet someone and you're out with your birds. But yes, we do not encourage grabbing strangers. So, um, what what kind of experience do you have with outreach, Jack? You guys missed this
Oh,
dynamic. Did.
I especially with it being Valentine's Day, I'm like I feel like we're like right on the cusp of like street walking parrots,
True.
and we um
Well,
okay, back on task. It's kind of what we have to do with the students today. I have a pretty extensive background with outreach for a variety of different audiences. I have done outreach professionally pretty much my entire career. And that is at multiple different facilities, but all of them it's the same thing. It's that connection with kids and wildlife, getting them to understand why animals are important, getting them to understand the things that they can do to help, the ways that they can take care of the animals in their life, the natural world. Uh, all of that has been repeated again and again and again. I have also been for too many years now, assisting with the National Parrot Foundation's Parrot Festival, which is honestly one of the best networking, outreach, educational opportunities available to bird owners that I have encountered. I actually started, I was tricked. I was tricked the first year that I went. They were like, oh, we want you to come in and just enjoy Parrot Festival. Oh, well, and since you're here, you can help us put up some decorations. And by the end of it, oh, the next year you're going to come and you're the one of the point people for those decorations. And then the next year, oh, you're the chairperson for those decorations. And that has just escalated until I reached the point that I am now, where I have been helping to coordinate and put together the National Parrot Foundation's Parrot Festival in some way, shape, or form or another for the last decade. That doesn't even seem real to say that.
It doesn't, but it happens. And I think that's kind of that's an encapsulation of what outreach does. I think so my experience with outreach is more, it wasn't with parrots, was with birds of prey. And it was going and volunteering somewhere. And then, oh, hey, the first day I went to volunteer, I had some experience, but it became, oh, will you take this red-shouldered hawk down to the florist down the street? And I was like, okay. So I ended up talking to people at the nursery, at the florist. And then it became doing programs with, students, with adults. And the message varies, but the idea of it, I think, is always the same. And that emotional piece that so I think we have to be careful. It's a fine line. So, Jack and I, you guys who know us know that um, we joke a lot, we teach through humor, and I think that's important. But there is that emotional side that happens too. I, but we want to walk the line and still present that positive place where, I remember the first time I had a golden eagle on the glove, and I had all these high school students standing in front of me, and the eagle started to vocalize. And I kind of looked at my mentor, and she said, "She's singing to you." Tears just started streaming down my face. High school students looking at me like I was nuts, but they saw that connection. And I think that's part of, what happens. And I used to work with the Nature Conservancy, and we did an event called Bowl the Planet, where people all over the world had a bowl-a-thon on the same day. And we had little kids, Cub Scouts, they wanted to go to the rainforest. It was, you could raise funds, buy an acre of the rainforest. Well, can we go camping there? No, but you made that connection, and I think that's the important thing. I mean, so connections, Jack. How do you make those connections happen?
First of all, I do have to say that I have participated in those fundraisers. The other aspects where they were like, if you sell this many chocolate bars, you save this species or this species. And I'm like,
Mhm.
wait a minute. So if I sell 2,000 chocolate bars, where am I going to put my jaguar? Because you're saying I get a jaguar out of this, right? No, no, you don't actually get the jaguar. You helped it. Um, but
Yeah.
no, the question of like, how do you make those connections? Those connections, it's to me, it's a lot like animal training. Um, Animal training does not happen in a vacuum. It happens whether or not you take advantage of it. When you are working with an animal, you are building a reinforcement history. You are making that connection, whether or not it is something you are trying to do, whether or not you are making the best choices with it, which is why I always encourage people try to take a step back with your training. I feel the same way about those connections. Anytime you go out, if you are actively working on something, if you are actively networking, if you are just going somewhere and telling someone what is your favorite animal, why it is your favorite animal, this is my bird, these are the fun things that this bird does, this is the way this bird benefits my life, that is a form of outreach. That is a connection that somebody is going to remember. So everything can effectively be outreach when you look at it through that lens. I mean, what do you think of that, Robin?
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you, and I think the connection piece. It may not happen at that moment. It may be, that child that sits in the audience, sees you, hears what you have to say, maybe doesn't really digest it, but then 10 years down the road, 20 years down the road, goes into some form of environmental study, or becomes a steward for the environment. And when you've got Cub Scouts saying, well, I want to go to the rainforest, I want to save it, and can we go camping there? No, you can't, honey, but let's talk about how you can help more. And the emotional piece, I think that's one that gets a little dicey sometimes because we love, 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 love our animals, right? We want to talk to them like we want to, do all these things. We want to make life better however we can. And sometimes that comes across, and sometimes you're dealing with people that don't feel that way about animals, so you need to talk to them about how it impacts their world, even if they're not, pet owners, or they're not connected to that environmental piece. And you also have to put a lid on the crazy. I mean, and by that I mean, so any animal group you go to, and people go, "Oh, bird people are crazy." Yep, and so are ferret people, and so are dog people, and so are horse people. It doesn't matter. Fill in the blank with an animal, and we're all crazy. But we don't want to put that out there as far as we're also super responsible. We're also very invested in the world situation. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I think, and this is where it gets to be a, a struggle for some people, because that emotional piece is so strong for them, because they are so passionate about it. It can be really hard to filter, um, and ultimately do what is going to be best for your cause. I will say one thing that to just keep in mind, you never know what people are going to retain. It can be little things that make a connection for them. Uh, One story that I have brought up time and time again, it's actually part of why I bother Robin and ask her to do some of these things at Parrot Festival. It was at least 15 years ago. Uh, at that time, when I first started taking care of animals, which I was even before that, uh, parrots were not deemed by most organizations as something that required regular enrichment. Primates, elephants, marine mammals, yes, but we weren't yet at the point where everything needed enrichment. And I'm excited to see the progress that we've made. But I do remember one year at Parrot Festival, Robin issued a challenge and said, any toy you can find at Parrot Festival, bring it to me and we will go over how that could be a foraging opportunity for your parrot. Especially when, like, we all knew, yes, birds like to play with things, and if you don't give them things, maybe they'll, destroy something, get out of their cage, chew through a wall. But taking a look at it through the lens of this is what this animal needs for its best interest. And you made it very approachable. You made it very easy for people to understand, to make that, oh, I can do something as simple as this, and this is going to have a meaningful impact on that bird's life. um, I don't even know how you begin to measure the impact that has potentially had on countless animals. How many birds did get additional toys because, oh, here's why we're doing this, and it's easy, and here's a way that if I just think about this a little bit, this is now so much better than I am offering my bird.
Mhm.
So I think that's really important. Obviously, we've all worked with birds. We've had birds that have meant a lot to us. Making that connection, trying to encourage people to have that connection is super important. Uh, I have had the joy and incredible opportunity to work with a wide variety of species that a lot of people haven't even had the opportunity to see in person. So getting to talk to people about those and getting to express, hey, here are personality quirks that I've observed. Here is, uh, I am amazed how many people do not know what a pelican feels like. Because to me, that's one of the most incredible sensations in the world. Holding a
Mhm.
pelican and feeling, the way that their feathers lay and all of the air bubbles that provide them insulation, provide them waterproofing. And so many people don't even realize what they are missing. But obviously, I have to pay attention to my audience. I have to pay attention to how I bring that up. Because if I just start with, did you know pelicans are really cool and feel awesome? Most people would probably write me off as crazy.
Well, I mean, it's the same thing when I tell people that okapi feel like wet velvet, like oily velvet,
They do.
and people go, "Wait, what?" You know, and I think, and that's a gift that you have as well, Jack, is being able to make things easy for people. And, your hybrid bird tutorials that, you can take this, pen and turn it into an enrichment or whatever, obviously not the pen, but, and I think that's something to really, yeah, do not give your parrot a pen. Um, they will write down their life story and expose everything you've ever done wrong. Um,
Oh,
but I
I have cockatoos. My birds would write bad checks.
It would, it's so bad. But I think one of the things when you're doing outreach to really think about is, oh, there you go. Douglas just said Eclectus and Amazon smell really nice. Okay, so that's one of those things that people go, wait, what? Or when you tell them that binturong smell like popcorn, buttered popcorn, they go, you are a crazy person. But I think it's making it those fun facts, making it relatable. We all know the science. Those of us that work in the industry know the science, and a lot of people who are companion parrot owners, it's now available out there. But making it so that it's relatable. I can teach you how to train your bird, and you can teach people how to train their bird. And you can use, the big SAT words that are, it's a blah, blah, blah reinforcer, that it's a differential, da, da, da. And okay, that's great. But when I'm in the moment and I'm working with an animal, I don't need to know that. I need to know that there's science behind it, and if your outreach is to vet students, well, yes, you want to make sure that you're using that terminology. Dr. Susan Friedman and I have gone round and round and round about this for years, and we agree to disagree. She will tell you that too. That I don't think you need to know all the terminology if you know how to apply it. Know that it exists. But I mean, what are your thoughts on that, Jack? I think keeping it simple when you're doing outreach and relatable is important.
Yeah, I think so. I actually have an experience that ties into this. I was invited to do a presentation for Baylor College of Medicine. They wanted this to be this educational opportunity for their vet students, but then it was also supposed to be a team building, morale boosting experience. So we did a presentation, and then they also got an animal photo booth where they got to basically pet or hold an animal and take pictures with it. And I know we all have this idea of you're supposed to focus on the exact precise terminology, which we covered in the presentation. And I can tell you right now, every single one of those vet students preferred the photo booth, preferred getting to interact with an animal, getting to touch an animal, getting to meet an animal in person. I do agree that it does help you to learn the terminology. It does help you to understand the different aspects of operant conditioning and what are you doing in this instance. Are you utilizing positive reinforcement or negative punishment? Especially if you need to confer with a behaviorist, if you need a
Mhm.
training specialist to help you deal with a problem, you definitely want to have a handle on that terminology. But I've also known plenty of people who have an amazing handle on that terminology and do not have the practical skills to work on that. And I feel like all of these things that we're addressing, they all tie to the same things. So animal training, animal enrichment, animal outreach. Um, you know, Having an approach that works for you, having an approach that works for your animal or your audience is ultimately going to be one of the most important things. It doesn't matter how the person down the street is doing it. If you are doing it in a way that is effective, then you are doing it in a way that is effective. Uh,
Mhm.
Point blank, period. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
I think adjusting
And
your approach. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, I was going to say, Adrian just commented, if you get too tangled up in the terminology, the teaching moment can be lost. And she's 100% on because, when and when you walk into a situation and you're doing that outreach, nobody knows, you know, Professor blah, 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 or Mrs. So and so and how they do it. And they don't care because in the moment, they're meeting you, they're meeting your animals, and they really want to know about what have you got there? I mean, I know you've experienced this, Jack, where you walk in to do a presentation and you've got your crates and you're walking along and you put down your crates or your carriers and everybody is like, I want to know what's in there. What's in there? What do you got? What's in there? And it's this big reveal. It's wonderful. And it gives you that opportunity to show people your connection, make that connection. But yeah, and I believe, is this Alicia at Jim's Place says, I'm guilty of talking about birds nonstop. There's a balancing act, though, about wanting to share my passion and being able to read the room. Yeah, you don't want people to go, oh no, oh, here they come again. Oh, I don't want to hear about birds anymore. If they say that, they probably shouldn't be your friends, but you know. Uh,
You know, I would say you can do that the same way that you're approaching animal training. You have to develop those observational skills, learn to read body language. You know, if you're going up to talk to somebody about birds and they immediately freeze, they're starting to lean away from you, all of, if I start talking about an animal and the person's like leaning down, mouth agape, feathers puffed out, I'm like, oh, you're about to bite me. I need to stop doing this.
mhm.
Which has never happened yet, but we've probably pushed it a couple of times.
You don't hang out with
No.
Carrie Ellen. Um, just
um,
say it.
but no, setting yourself up for success, paying attention to your audience, having a plan. I cannot stress that enough for anything that you do that involves animals. Have a plan. You may need to be prepared to change that plan or evaluate your plan afterward and say, hey, that didn't go the way I wanted. Um, and if it didn't go the way that you wanted, it's a learning opportunity and you can do better the next time. But, addressing those issues, having that plan in place is going to set you up for success.
Yeah. So there are two things that I want to address that you just brought up. When the person moves away, and do not continue to thrust the bird in their face. Do not put the bird on them. Well, and I know Jack has experienced this as well. So because of what we do, we're out there all the time. We're working with birds, working with animals, and people just assume that you want to hold their bird, that you want to hold their animal. Maybe, and Carrie Ellen and I do the Rockstar Tour, and we've talked about we're going to die petting something that we shouldn't, and we know that. I mean, that's a given when you're in this industry. But one of the things, you know, if you tell me you're telling me about your bird and your bird is a terror and it bites all the time and it does here, nope, nope. No, why would I wanna do that? And so, when you've got somebody that's in your audience that's kinda like, "Yeah, I don't know," you thrusting that bird is just setting everybody up for failure. It's setting the person who's in your audience up for failure. It's setting your animal up for failure, and it's setting you up for failure. So, you really, really have to be able, like Alicia said, you've gotta be able to read the audience and know that, okay, maybe I stand a little further away. This is a really big one if you're doing outreach with reptiles because it's either hot or cold or like tarantulas when you've got a tarantula out. No, no, no. There are people that just are like, absolutely not. And I remember years ago when my son was little, a long time ago, Um, and they had, it was a millipede. And one of my friends was a keeper, and she just thought, here's this little boy, he's like 7 years old. He is going to think this is the coolest thing ever. And I watched her take it out of the enclosure and go to put it on his hand. And she was paying attention to the animal, which we do when that animal's in our care. And I could see his hand just dropping. And I'm like, oh, he's going to drop that on the ground and it's going to run away. So I had to stick my hand in there and catch the millipede, which was not on my list of things I really wanted to do, but I did. So being aware if someone is really not comfortable, it is super important. Um, so that was one thing. And then I totally lost the other thing. It's okay. See, that's what
Well,
happens.
I can add to that if you want to try to find it.
Okay.
Um, I have done programs where I have gone places to schools, libraries, and they have outright asked me, "You're not just going to push this animal on me, right?" Because we've had other people. They came out and they were like, "Okay, I have a giant snake. You have to hold the giant snake," and teachers were traumatized by it because they didn't want to, but now they're just forced into this situation where they're having to do that. So for me, whenever I do educational programs with animals, having that choice, having a clear expectation of what that interaction is going to look like is really important. And I think it's really important to point out that for animal care in general, there has been a massive push towards choice,
Mhm.
having the opportunity to, if does the bird want to come out? Well, it has the opportunity to step up onto this particular perch, and the bird knows if it steps onto this perch, I will ask it to step out of its cage. But if it doesn't, I'm going to leave it alone. And now the bird has a feeling of control over its environment. It knows that it can say no, and magically, or it appears to be magically, now the bird has fewer bite incidents because it has that sense of choice, that sense of control over its environment. People are the same way. People want to have a feeling of control in their environment. So
Mhm.
setting that up is really important. As someone that does presentations with cockatoos, when I do presentations with them, I have to tell you guys, it is like spinning plates, except the plates are also on fire, and
Mhm.
one of them is in a separate room because I'm having to pay attention to what the animal is doing. I have to pay attention to how the audience is reacting. Because I work with cockatoos who sometimes like to embrace chaos, they get used to, oh, here's the order of my behaviors. I don't want to do behaviors in that order. So now I'm also having to think through and completely redesign the
Mhm.
script so that I can present everything in a way that still makes sense to the audience, but gives the animal the behaviors that it wants to do in a novel or unique setup so then it wants to participate with those behaviors, all while making sure that the animal isn't stressed out, the audience isn't stressed out, and everything still makes sense. Um,
Mhm.
when you're working with people, they can communicate a little bit more clearly, but you have to give them that opportunity. So sometimes things as simple as, are you okay with holding this animal? Would you like to try to pet this animal instead? Do you want to just watch it a little bit more and see how it moves? I know this is a new animal. Maybe you're not used to it. So watching
Mhm.
it can help you be more comfortable. Little questions like that can make a huge difference. But even if you don't have an animal with you, if you're just talking about them and you, hey, do you want to hear more about this animal? I think they're really cool, but I understand if you want to talk about something else or if you need to move on.
When they get that glazed look, you know that you need to cut it off right there. And I think, there is such a push for choice, which is incredible, and it's the way it should be. And it's really about how the industry does get a bad rap about forcing animals to do things. And I think when you're doing outreach, it's really important to show people, no, I'm offering these choices. and they see that you're offering the animal choices, you're offering them choices. I mean, I don't want to sit around and sing kumbaya, but I think it's really about kindness. And I think that message comes across in your outreach as well. And, where you're going to, a lot of you go to the same places. I know, Susan's on here from Long Island Parrot Society, and they do a lot of outreach in the community. And you go back to the same place year after year. And maybe little Johnny doesn't want to hold the macaw today, but next year, when he comes back to the fair, he says, I remember you were here and I'm ready to do this now. What are you giggling about? Are we
I
not bringing
remember the story
the macaw back?
that made me feel good, but also absolutely awful. Um, so when I worked at the Houston Zoo, I would have to do keeper talks. And again, I feel like this ties to that idea of you don't know what's going to be meaningful to people.
Mhm.
So one of the people, they would have summer camp for all sorts of kids, and they would have teenagers to assist as camp counselors and help keep the kids in line. They came and they watched a laughing kookaburra talk and feeding that I was doing. One of those teenage camp counselors is now Dr. LeVere, who works at Dr. Stephen Fraunfeld's clinic. And he's telling me this story, and all I'm thinking is, no, because you have now fully completed vet school. You are an entire adult, and you are telling this entire building about an experience you remember, and it was exciting for you, and you remember talking to the kids about what it looked like as the kookaburras were eating and me answering their questions. And obviously it made a positive impact on you because you specifically remembered me as part of that interaction. But no, no.
Yeah, it's when they come back and they're all grown up that you're like, well, so
Right.
Susan brings up a good point too that we do need to touch on. She says we always have to be mindful of our insurance coverage when it comes to handing birds to people. And Jack mentioned having a plan. That's part of the plan. And you have to have a plan A, a plan B, and a plan C, because maybe the animals don't want to work today. Maybe the audience is a bunch of screaming, horrible, evil children. Oh, who said that? And they're not going to listen. Maybe it's the kid that needs to touch and pull the bird's tail while you're not looking. So this goes back to when your mom used to say, I have eyes in the back of my head. I see what you're doing. You do have to when you're doing outreach. And I suggest oftentimes that people have two or three people with them if they can when they're doing outreach. Unless that's what you do for a living, having multiple people really helps you keep an eye on that one child that is not going to listen. And then you've got to be ready. So being able to fill is another important skill when you're doing outreach, because when that bird suddenly, and oh, by the way, what do kids like the most, Jack? What is the one thing
When
that
they
children
poop.
exactly. Exactly, right? So be prepared to talk about poop. It's important when you're doing outreach to talk about poop. Not just kids, adults too. There's that little
Um,
giggle that happens, you see it happen. So,
yeah.
um, but you've got to be able to fill, because or be able to react. And Jody often tells me that you can tell how I feel about questions with my face. And if somebody asks a question and I go, and she's like, I saw what you did, the look on your face, and I'm like, oh, come on, really, was it that bad? She goes, well, that's because I know you. She said, if I didn't know you, I wouldn't know. um, but being able to react, and this was a super positive experience for me. We had a golden eagle at Windover Wings, who had been through all kinds of horrific medical treatment, and you know, all these different procedures and things, and it was, now an ambassador animal, and we brought it to Paul Newman had the Hole in the Wall camp where for kids with who were HIV positive and some who had terminal illnesses, and we used to do a presentation for them every year. And I'm standing up front and I'm talking, and then we kind of did a question and answer, and people could come up a little bit closer. And I had Skywalker on my glove, and this little girl came up and she got really close. And I was kind of trying to move back a little bit, but she kept moving closer. And she looked up at me and she said, because we used to tell Sky's story, and she said, if Sky can do it, so can I. And I went, "Okay." And I looked down, and the little girl had one leg. Sky had one wing. So at that point, when I was just ready to start sobbing, but there was that and it was overwhelmingly emotional for me, but I was able to, you're right, and just kind of pick it up and go with it, and you have to be able to do that when you're doing outreach. What's the I'm going to put you on the spot. What's the hardest question you ever gotten doing outreach that you've had to answer?
Um, do you want an emotional answer like what you? No, I have the answer because uh, uh, this was a challenge as well because my face also has subtitles. And
Right.
someone once asked me, as I have a bird right next to me, so do all birds have four legs? Do any? Like, I'm like, do you not see this?
Mhm.
Yeah,
And you don't wanna discourage people, you don't wanna go, "Are you serious?" I mean, and that's right here sometimes, and I know all of you who have done outreach have had that, like, you wanna go, "Oh, come on."
right.
And but you can't because maybe it's a honest question and you're not understanding what the question being asked is. Maybe this person has never ever experienced this animal that you are presenting, and they just are, it's completely foreign to them and they want to learn. So if somebody's asking a question and you're doing outreach, I don't care if you're doing, a big presentation, if you're doing a table at an event, if you just bring one bird to the library for story time, none of those questions, every single one of those questions deserves an honest answer from you and deserves the same amount of credence that you would give to a question that you felt was super valid. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think it ties kind of to what I was saying earlier, where like all of the aspects of outreach, animal training, animal enrichment, all sort of tie together. They're all connected. With animal training, one of the hardest things to train new animal trainers is focus on what you want the animal to do, not what you don't want it to do. So in this instance, I would say you have to focus on what is that positive takeaway that you want someone to have. If you ask, are you an idiot? They're not going to have a positive interaction. They're going to be like, that bird person was mean and crazy. So even if you're inwardly screaming, like, what is wrong with you? Maybe there's a reason. Maybe there's something they've seen. Maybe there's a prior experience they have. Maybe they had a conversation or a connection with somebody who also dismissed them, and then they didn't get that information. So you can take advantage of that opportunity. And like as we've both shown, like sometimes those little small things stick with people decades later.
Mhm. Absolutely. So we've got some funny stories here. Adrian had a woman at a bird fair who informed her that chickens were not birds. She wasn't quite sure what they were, but definitely not birds. Okay. And then Laurie McFarland says she has four-legged birds under her bird feeders. They're called deer. Carrie Ellen has a hard time when somebody tells her that their male bird has laid an egg. And Susan says the cutest question she ever got was, "Do those birds have jobs?" And the answer is yes. They're educators right there. They do have jobs, but it's a lot. I mean, doing outreach is a lot. But I think Jack and I started Friday Night Flock Talks um, as a form of outreach. It was during COVID. And people weren't able to get out and people were bored. And we started the Flock Talks. Um, you know, outreach has evolved for me. I mean, how about you, Jack?
Yeah, and first of all, because I don't think I've ever yelled at you for this, and I feel like I need to. The very first live stream we ever did, I did not know was being recorded at the time. I thought we were just getting together to talk about ideas and like, oh, hey, here's something we may want to do in the future. Here's what this could look like, and maybe we could talk about this. And I'm like, okay, yeah, no, all of that went great. And then at the end, it's like, oh, and that's posted now. I'm like, wait, what? I wasn't. Okay. I hope it went well.
It
Um,
was candid. It was good.
I'm pretty sure at one point, like, because I was just outside, and I think chickens were yelling at me at one point. Um, but no, it was very much needed, in 2020. And obviously, we started with that, and then we were able to do a variety of workshops. We did conferences, not just here. We got to do, and oh, this is like one of the most meaningful experiences I've ever had. We got to do a conference for Hilla Neiman uh,
Mhm.
in Germany, and that was a unique set of challenges, like all outreach possesses, because I don't speak German. So I could
Mhm.
do 2 to 3 sentences and then somebody would have to translate it. So it was definitely interesting. But then 2 weeks later, Hilla sends me a video, and it's a blue fronted Amazon that she says, I wanted you to see this because before this workshop, this bird has never interacted with a toy. It did not have any meaningful interaction with enrichment whatsoever. That owner was in attendance at the workshop. They put together this toy that you recommended. Here is a video of that bird playing with that toy. Um, to me, that's just so exciting because that means, yeah, I'm sitting here and I'm telling people here's the ways that you can have a meaningful, exciting interaction with your animals, and here's why it's important, and here's all the ways that your animal can benefit from it, and I can do that till I'm blue in the face. But it actually has impact on animals. It had a very real impact on a bird in a country where I don't even speak the language.
And I think that's the thing is, when people are doing outreach, you may not see the connection right then. You may not see the outcome right then, but hopefully you'll hear about it later or just know that it does happen. I've had people, and I mean, I've been doing this a long time, clearly. I had a lot more hair. When I met Jack, my hair was much thicker. Not that I'm blaming you or anything, but um, we we it, when people come up to you years later and say, thank you, and I'm sure you guys have all experienced this as well. When people get um, they get excited about things. They do something different for their birds. They say, "Oh, hey, I tried this, this, and this." And maybe they modified it a little bit. And, you say, "Oh, hey, can I use that now? Is that okay?" It's that feedback that you get. It's that give and take. It's the sharing of ideas. And that's all outreach is. Don't get, obviously Jack and I don't have a problem with rambling. I mean, presenting or going on and on. Um, but I mean, example, Parrot Festival. Picture it, Parrot Festival
Oh,
2026. Um, we get there and the storm is going to hit. There's a warning, and we've got, I'm sitting with Georgia Hayes, and we're just having a coffee, and the phone rings, and it's Jack, and I see Georgia, who is always very together, kind of kind of deflated a little bit, and I see her, oh, uh-huh, uh-huh, uh-huh. And she says, "Yeah, I'm sitting here with Robin." And she hands me the phone, and it's Jack. And one of their key speakers was unable to attend. This was what, Thursday? And it was,
yeah.
yeah, Thursday afternoon. And so, okay, what are we going to do? Well, we've got to fill. We've got to fill. Um, and we okay, so this was my plan. I was going to do, all kinds of pirate things and get everybody all pirate ready. But oh wait, now we need to do a, how long was that workshop? Hour and a half, 2
2
hours?
hours.
2 hours, yeah. Can we do that? And I went, yeah, okay. Okay, we can do that. So you've got to be ready, and it's not, I think speaking is an adrenaline rush. I love it. I love working with people. I love the aha look on people's faces. But when you do outreach, don't overstress yourself, because you have something that these people probably don't have. You have that amazing bird or that snake or that whatever you're using for outreach, that animal that you're working with for this outreach program. Just know that you've got that's in your toolbox, and you don't have to worry about, oh, and I screwed up and I called it positive reinforcement instead of negative reinforcement, and oh, I did it wrong. Nobody cares. I mean, am I right, Jack?
Yeah, I think, and again, going back to, you have your plan in place. Your plan has to be specifically designed for you. Robin and I did a 2 hour animal training workshop because we have a background on in animal training, animal behavior, animal enrichment. We wouldn't have put together a 2 hour workshop on understanding the phylogenetics of blah 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 blah.
We probably
That
can't.
is not, I know, very very technical terminology. That is not where we would shine. That being said, we would still probably find a way to make it work
We would.
if we had to.
Uh, sorry, I
But
was just
no,
reading.
uh oh.
I was No, I was reading Eva's comment. It looks like you have horns.
I think.
I'm sorry. Kind of does.
Oh wait, there you go.
A little bit.
Who? I have horns?
Tell him to
Yes.
check his phone.
Look at your phone. He sent you a message.
I'm looking at it.
No, he sent you
Oh,
a,
I guess from the. Why did I
sorry.
do that?
And
Okay,
again,
well,
sometimes you just got to roll with it. So, that little kid that's going to interrupt you while you're doing outreach and go, yeah, but and one time, and then, and you're just going, oh, and your bird's starting to do funky stuff because you're not going through the routine the way you planned it. And like I said, the ABC and usually DEF plans are necessary. um, I will say, Jack, when you first started doing outreach and working with animals, was it was much more, you're going to get the birds or the animals to do this, and this is the expectations, and people want to see this behavior. We have gotten away from that, thankfully. And when you're doing outreach, I think i- anything you do with those animals is impressive.
yeah, and again, setting yourself up for success, but also realizing how things have changed so much,
Mhm.
especially if we look at something like Parrot Festival. Parrot Festival used to be this event that people attended. They were going to learn about their parrots. Now we're very, very lucky that we have the opportunity. If you're not able to come to Parrot Festival, there is this wizard behind a curtain who makes it completely accessible if you want to watch the sessions virtually, which actually really, really helped this year because a lot of people weren't able to come due to the weather. With
Absolutely.
things like the Friday night flock talks, same wizard behind the curtain.
Mhm.
So I really cannot say thank you, Nick, for everything that you do to make me seem technologically competent. It is greatly appreciated.
A huge shout out to Nick and anyone who's out there doing outreach, doing education. You need Nick in your life. I'm just saying. And the Exotic Animal Foundation is Nick's 501c3. That if you're looking for someone to help out, an organization, they are who to support. They are putting education out there for people that may not be able to access it in any other way. And like Jack said, for so many people that weren't able to make it to Parrot Festival, Nick saved the day. I mean, he Nick does a lot of stuff behind the scenes that you guys never see. And I should say, and Nick also has his very competent assistant, Eric, who also helps make those things happen. So if you're ever at an event and you know that Nick and Eric and Exotic Animal Foundation is providing the technological support, please say thank you, and let them know how much they are appreciated. And Nick has been making Jack and I look good for since when? 2020? Yeah. I mean, and there have been
Although
times it was not easy.
You're giving me too much
I will
credit. It's
say,
not rocket surgery.
It
I will
might
say I
be.
do now keep centering myself to make sure my horns are the same size after it was
I think
pointed out to me, right?
yes. Um, but you guys doing outreach, any of you that are doing it, thank you. We've got a lot of legislation on the table this year regarding animal rights versus animal welfare. There's a lot that we need to show, that's the positive side of aviculture, and through outreach, you're able to do those things. So, Jack, any final suggestions for people who want to do outreach?
So one, I would say, it's all about making that connection, finding a thing that works for you, finding a plan that works for you. So pick and choose the aspects that you like. If you see someone doing one thing, you see another person doing something else, and you like a little bit of this and a little bit of this, pick and choose the aspects that work for you. Find different resources that can help you have the knowledge that you need, can make those connections. If you need, there's organizations, if you need practice organizing your thoughts, if you need practice how to put together a presentation, if you just want to go out and talk to people at the library, talk to people at the grocery store about your animal. Like there are so many different ways that you can do this. I honestly, the single most fundamental way that you can have an impact on animals is just tell somebody what is your favorite animal, or why does this animal mean something to you, because then you're not the only one holding on to that story. They now have it too, and maybe they'll get a chance to step up and have an impact, because two people have twice as much of a chance. And if you keep
Mhm.
doing that, it does build, it does grow, and we just get to like that brighter tomorrow.
Absolutely. And I think Alicia really summed it up. She said, every moment is a teachable lesson. And it's true. You take that moment, and when your bird's not doing exactly what you want or what you planned, Okay, so this is what happens, and this is, this shows you that this bird has a mind of his own. So, there's so much to do, so much out there. I want to thank everybody that's doing outreach, and just somebody who brings it up at the next, the next time you're stuck in line at the grocery store and you start talking about, oh, I'm buying this papaya for my parrot or whatever. So thank you, and Jack, it's been great. Thank you so much. There's a lot going on, you guys. Jack, you're working on some more presentations for schools and stuff. Is that right?
Yeah, so with HiRedBird, we now do traveling interactive encounters of all kinds for schools, libraries, daycares. Still working to provide, uh, you know, different tutorials and content online. Amazingly enough, people seem to be more excited and get more use out of things like the TikToks and Instagram reels of, hey, here's how we're quickly going to put together a foraging toy,
Mhm.
and we try to balance and make some of those fun because then more people are excited and then they want to see the actual foraging tutorial. So yes, maybe some of them are here's a video of a camel eating a bouquet of roses, or here's a video of a capybara wearing a small hat, or because he's not that big, I think he would just call it a hat.
Mhm.
But
What about, are you selling roaches? Aren't you you can name a roach. That didn't come out right. Jack is not Jack is, wow. We should probably
no,
strike that from tonight's
so
presentation.
different ways that people can have an impact. And so we do have the opportunity, if anyone is signed up for HiRedBird's Patreon, which is a way to sign up and basically support the programs that we're doing, basically helps us putting everything together. We do have a really unique opportunity coming up for Valentine's Day. Anyone who is signed up on Patreon can decide to name a roach after someone in their life that they think of in the same terms that someone typically thinks of a roach. And then that roach will be fed out to an insectivore. So if you would like to name a roach after an ex, if you would like to name a roach after, someone who was rude to you at the grocery store, a grumpy coworker.
That person who wouldn't listen about your birds.
Well, but yeah, right.
I'm just saying.
But yeah, so no, anyone who wants to sign up for that, you get that opportunity. You'll be able to see the video of all of those roaches getting fed out. And it just seemed like a really cool way to basically talk about. I like roaches. Roaches are really cool. They're beneficial detritivores that help the environment, but there are also things that eat roaches, and roaches are better than other insects because they have a better nutritional balance. They're higher in calcium, so they're healthier for the insects or for the insectivores. And we can talk about all of that.
Nick wants to know if you have any orange roaches.
Any orange roaches?
Yeah. Just think about it, Jack.
No.
It'll come to you later. This is the moment where the outreach may not like make sense right now, but it will. And I'm sure that Karen appreciates the orange roach question as well. So one more announcement for you guys. The Leather Elves is we're introducing a webinar series. 6 weeks, six webinars. It's on sensory enrichment. Each week will be a different, each week will focus on a different way to incorporate those sensory experiences. You can sign up at theleatherelves.equid.com. It's under the education section. $100 for 6 webinars, which is less than $20 per session. We will be starting the first one on March 6th and go through April 6th. So if you want to sign up for that, registration is limited. I want to keep it fairly small so that we can really have some good discussion. And we are running the registration through Valentine's Day. So if you want to sign up, theleatherelves.ecwid.com. So thank you, Jack. It's been a pleasure. Jack and I got to do quite a bit of work together at Parrot Festival this past a week or two ago, and we will we will see you all in our respective outreaches. And take care. Have a wonderful. Actually, I may see you before Valentine's Day. I'm not sure if we're going to do another one. We've got a bunch of great guests coming up. I will be announcing that. So, Jack, happy Valentine's Day, and we will see you soon.
See you guys later.